Hi everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations. You're with Simon today, and of course we're doing another subscriber chart reading, and in today's video we're going to be looking at a Pluto first house as well as some of the dynamics that are associated with the lunar nodes, and we're going to be learning about how this soul comes into this lifetime to process the nature of their reality, to align with the intention that this chart represents for the soul. Okay. So, as always, we look to Pluto in the chart, we understanding the nature of what the soul is trying to do here. And we have Pluto and Virgo in the first house with a tight connection to Uranus also in the first house on the ascendant. And we also have Mars in the 12th house, and that's also sitting on the ascendant, right? So there's a very strong connection between what the soul is discovering in this lifetime about themselves. The core intention of Pluto in the first house is to understand the evolutionary intention of this new desire that is linked with Pluto in the first, right? But then when you look at Uranus and the Uranus and Mars sitting right on top of that Pluto, you can see there's a dynamic here around what that could be about, So it's definitely about individuation. It's definitely about allowing one's own sense of identity to be a big part of their creative expression. Let's just go back to Pluto for a moment and see that the intention here is for the soul to action all of the new desires that are arising from the subconscious into the memory of the soul, and to explore the nature of these desires in a free way, in a way that is not of judgment or of any sense of correctness, even though the Virgo rising, or in this particular instance, it's not a Virgo rising, it's a Leo rising, but with Virgo ruling Uranus and ruling Pluto, there can be a tendency to have a paralysis of one's own sense of, desires or the action of those desires, simply because Virgo can create an inner psychological, like I said, paralysis, where it's deeply internalized. Am I doing the right thing? Is this the right way? I've got a lot of doubts. I don't feel secure about this. What is the right way? As I said, these are all the types of psychological patterns that Virgo presents itself with. And it's simply just to analyze the nature of what the choices are about. But it can be very deeply sabotaging when the process of the Pluto first house soul needs to just be free in the expression, more along the lines of get in the van, no time to explain, kind of dynamic. Whereas the Virgo is saying, I don't want to get in the van, even though there's a catastrophic event just about to occur. I need to have the details. And so there can be this interesting emotional panic structure between freedom and paralysis to know what's correct, right? And I think with Uranus in Virgo on the ascendant over there, there can be this psychological state of, needing to complete. Because when we look at Pluto and we look at Uranus, they're in a balsamic phase to each other. This means that they're in a completion cycle, and Uranus itself, I just want to go too deep into it over here, but Uranus itself correlates to all of the prior life subconscious memories that the soul carries from its experiences of life and the potential awakening of the future. In other words, the soul has a deep memory of prior life dynamics and can also, through Uranus, activate what the intention of this lifetime is about. So with Pluto being right next to it, this is a soul that's part of a generation that is like coming into the life and going, okay, the context of society, the context of the way that the world is structured has been a way, or has been a certain way for a long period of time. But through evolutionary intention, there's needing to be a deep fracturing, Uranus, of those desires, Pluto, that is linked with the collective's way in which we exist, right? So the Uranus-Pluto conjunction that actually took place between 1964 and 1967 was a very profound connection, because it set on board, or it set in motion, should I say, the experiences of what we're experiencing today here in 2018, which is the shift in collective awareness. So we're experiencing right now the wave that was initiated with the original conjunction of Pluto and Uranus. Now, this is a soul that was riding the wave of the previous cycle because as you can see, the relationship between Pluto and Uranus is balsamic. They're in a completion. So part of the conditioning of the soul here is writing the old way in which we did life and we experienced things and we structured reality. And now this is about how to integrate into this new paradigm of thinking, this new way in which life is existing. And if we look at the South Node in the 5th house in Capricorn, and the planetary ruler of the South Node being Saturn in Aquarius in the 6th, you can see a double repeating theme here again, in which the theme of this conjunction between Pluto and Uranus was about the initiation of our individual sovereignty, the initiation of a deep mutation that is taking place for us right now, in which we're learning to become progressively less dependent on external authorities as the way that we are, and more about how do we navigate ourselves from an individual point of view. So with Saturn being in the 6th house Aquarius and South Node being Capricorn in the 5th, individually the soul has experienced lifetimes of, one, needing to break away from certain expectations, rules, regulations, boundaries, and following the consensus norm, i.e. Saturn planetary ruler of the South Node, but also where the soul has in prior lifetimes actively been working on trying to align their creative purpose, 5th house, with a structure, Capricorn, that is deeply Uranian, i.e. deeply unique. So both sides of the story show up as a deep repression around trying to do that, but also a deep capacity to lead, i.e. to initiate direction through unique perception that allows for their creative purpose to be assimilated into the groups or into a leadership role in which their identity is reflected through as that leadership role. So where do I see the leadership? It's the North Node in the 11th house Cancer, planetary ruler being the Moon in the 9th house Taurus, right? This is about a person that has their own personal sort of subjective truth, right? Their own values, their own reasons for their own perception of truth, and that is about bringing their values of that truth into the collective, or in this case, into the group's ideas or the vision, right? I associate vision with Aquarius in 11th house. It's about bringing their own perception or their own truth in a self-reliant way to the groups and acknowledging that individual expression as a way of liberating us from pre-existing patterns that no longer support deep evolution, right? This is pretty profound in this sense, but it is a deep soul desire that the soul wants to experience, because when you've got the Sun conjunct Mercury right at the top of the chart and it's in Taurus, this is not a soul that's coming out to communicate about what you think or what you think or what you think. It's like, these are my values, these are my ideals, and I'm going to be expressing them in this way, because in order to do that, there's a part of me that is about acknowledging my own individuation process. So even though the soul can appear slightly narcissistic in their intentions around what they think and perceive as the truth, it is not necessarily that they are, it's just as that they're hardwired in the sense to be very orientated towards their own individuality, because this is a healing dynamic that the soul clearly is trying to work through in this lifetime with that Uranus right on the ascendant. In Virgo, this is every single moment I'm going to be aware of the subconscious crisis around the paralysis of my individuality. So I hope that provides you with a deep sense of understanding of not only your personal chart, but also for those of you that are watching this video series and you're learning along with me evolutionary astrology, that we can see the patterns and we can get a lot out of this experience. So I hope that it nourished you both. And as always, thanks very much for your time, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.